Hope it's well with your soul this morning. If not, there may be one thing that's kind of getting in the way of it, and quite honestly, I don't know how we're going to escape it. We're going to try to work on it a little bit this morning, maybe give you some ideas on how to contend with this in your life. That is not a typo. It's not mind your own business. It's mind your own busyness. And it's just part of what American culture is right now. A study took place not too many years ago, asked over 20,000 teens and adults if the busyness of life gets in the way of developing their relationship with God. 6 in 10 Christians said they're too busy for God. We want to be used by God to reach the world. And 6 in 10 Christians say they're too busy or their schedule doesn't really allow for God. Like I said, it's just part of what life is. I think everybody's kind of busy. If you're retired, maybe all of a sudden it's just like slowed down overnight. But I even talked to many retirees in this day, and it's like, I thought it was going to be slowing down, but it somehow hasn't. Of all the groups most affected by the busyness epidemic, perhaps the American family has been hit worse. One author writes, a self-assumed pressure to make sure the children get every opportunity to give them an edge academically, socially, physically, and even spiritually pushes us to push them. But somewhere in the process, something is getting buried. And it might just be our souls. Ann Croker wrote a book not too many years ago called Not So Fast, Slow Down Solutions for Frenzied Families. And she says this, for many of us, the great danger is not that we will renounce our faith. It is that we will become so busy and distracted and rushed that we will settle for a mediocre version of it. Make no mistake about it. I've known this for years. Hurry is the great enemy of the spiritual life. I think I even shared with a couple people before the service today. The hardest part sometimes about being a pastor or any kind of leader in the church that you just have to find a way to get over is that you come to seeking to speak for God and lead people in things of the faith. You come feeling sometimes like a complete fraud. And you just have to find a way to get over that. Now, I'm not a complete fraud, but I am a hypocrite, as we all are from time to time. I just think of this in this topic of busyness. I am sometimes literally getting out of my car and running to the next appointment. And something is off with that a little bit. So I don't come as a great expert. As usual, I come as a person in process. Now, one thing that I have that you sometimes don't have, and you got to find a way to get it, is a little liberty as a pastor. Just to say, you know what? I'm unplugging, and I am taking, for me even sometimes, this morning with God. And sometimes I'll spend a few hours, just me and the Lord in thought and in the Word. And I know that sometimes that's time that's hard for you to carve out. If you look at me right now and say, man, wish I had your easy life where I could get to do that from time to time. Well, you know, easy schmeezy, everything's relative. I guess I've always said this. Just know that is the best time that I can spend as your pastor. Instead of rushing from one appointment to the other, I find my sanity in my life again in those more quiet times. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But let's We're working our way through we're not really working our way through the book, but we're using the book of Proverbs to guide us in some real practical stuff. And today has to do with reducing the stress of your schedule. Just 3 ideas. It's just something we got to live with. To be busy isn't necessarily wrong, but if it's causing you to be one of those 6 in 10 Christians that says, when it comes right down to it, I'm busy for God, then we've got a problem. So let's look at some ideas to maybe reduce that kind of stress to give you some more time for God. Just 3 things. First of all, we've got to line up our priorities. I don't know if you've thought about that for sure. Some of you are responsible people. Most of you are, I think. And you just kind of maybe naturally do this. But let's look at Proverbs a little bit, what it has to say about this. Proverbs 17:24. We're so spoiled in the English language to have the many translations that we have. But as I'm in wisdom literature, sometimes those Proverbs especially, it's helpful to look at some other translations. Let's start with the NIV here. A discerning person keeps wisdom in view, but a fool's eyes wander to the ends of the earth. Okay, the whole topic of this series is how to walk with wisdom. We've looked at that for a couple weeks now. Just the idea of wisdom. It's more than just having a bunch of head knowledge. That's not wisdom at all. We've looked at the fact that there are a lot of educated fools out there. But wisdom is the ability to take some of that knowledge and actually live life with a certain degree of skill. Just living life well. That's wisdom. And living life well, especially as it relates to our relationships and our responsibilities. We've got a lot to juggle just with those 2 things, our relationships and our responsibilities. We need wisdom to live well. And a discerning person keeps wisdom in view. It's the second part of that verse that I really want to focus on when I think of priorities. But a fool's eyes wander to the ends of the earth. Okay, this is a little more literal translation from the Hebrew text. Well, what exactly is going on there? What's being communicated? Well, let's get a little help from the Good News Bible, today's English version. An intelligent person aims at wise actions. Okay, then that second part. But a fool starts off in many directions. You see, there's not a focus in this person's life. Running off in a million different directions. That's not a person who is not lining up their priorities in life. Trying to do 30 different things at the same time, at least in here. And it's driving you nuts, right? You can only do one thing at a time, but you got 30 things going on in the head. We got to somehow line up these priorities and decide what's most important, and then triage our lives. Decides which things come first in this situation. What's going to come second? What's going to come third? Takes wisdom. Proverbs 12:11. Again, NIV. Those who work their land will have abundant food. Okay, there's wisdom in that. I think most people here have a good work ethic. They work hard, and there's results. There's reward that comes from it. But those who chase fantasies have no sense. Those that chase fantasies, big dreams, but no real action to get me to fulfilling those dreams. Sometimes you got to make some hard choices. Line up those priorities and go for it. What's going on here? Again, second part of the verse. It is stupid to waste time on useless projects. Chasing fantasies. It's all right to dream, but let's dream big. But what are we doing to try to make them happen? And again, we're busy. Maybe just a thought for you. Some things aren't necessarily wrong. They're just not necessary. Maybe you need to find a way to take what isn't necessary in your life and cast it aside. I don't know. I don't think we've got, hopefully, people merely chasing fantasies around here. Hopefully we're grounded in some reality and doing what we need to do. Now, there's good news in all this. I think of young people especially, because I was a young person once. And you near that high school graduation time, and there's this pressure all of a sudden that I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I just think it could potentially be one of the most stressful times in life, really. That's a big ticket item. I'm leaving childhood, and now all of a sudden, I don't have a lot of wisdom as a 17, 18-year-old, but all of a sudden I'm supposed to have the ability to discern and know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. Here's good news. Proverbs 16:9, NIV. In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. I tell young people to get those steps moving. Get to work and work hard, or get to school and study hard. But you got to be moving. God can't guide and direct your lives unless you're moving. Sitting there on the couch waiting God to open a door isn't going to, what door is there to open? But as you pursue things, doors can close. That can be devastating because it wasn't part of your plan, but it was part of God's plan, and that's a good thing for a door to close because he's going to open something else, but get moving. We've got a way, we think we're planning our course, but man, what a comfort to know that it's the Lord that's exactly establishing our steps. If you've just got an inkling to move in his direction, if you just got a mustard seed of faith where you're depending on him, God has a way of doing this in your life. I'm living proof of it. And some of you could speak to the same thing as young people. We weren't focused. We had no idea what our lives were going to be, but we were willing to get moving a little bit. And man, God does amazing things. He's faithful. From the Living Bible, we should make plans. Make plans, counting on God to direct us. And man, I'm here to tell you he's faithful and he will. Seek him. Seek him and you will find him because he's not lost. But we got to seek him. Question for you. I just want to ask 3 questions at the close of each of these points when you think about priorities in your life, and only you can answer it. How clear are my priorities? Have you got kind of a clear focus? Where it can feel like you're running off with 30 different things in your head, but deep down you really do have some main goals that you are pursuing. Because here's the deal. You're going to either live your life either by priorities or pressure. We all have pressure. We've got other people putting it on us. So are we going to live our whole lives just simply responding to that pressure, or are we going to have our own priorities that we're seeking? If you don't set your agenda, somebody else will set it for you. Somebody will be very happy to come along and set it for you. I know we've got bosses and we've got parents and we got this or that, and this happens, but we've got to be seeking to guide our own lives too. How clear are your priorities? Maybe it's a chance just to think about that if you get some downtime, some quiet time this afternoon, seeing how you're doing in the midst of your own busy lives. We're in the book of Proverbs. We're trying to reduce the stress of our schedules. Next thing, lighten up my attitude. Oh man, sometimes it can get heavy for this guy, but I'm usually a pretty lighthearted guy, right? That saves me. I mean, to laugh and to have humor, it's not just about being a fool like I appear to be sometimes. That stuff saves my life. I feel sorry for the person that can't laugh. You got to learn how to laugh a little bit. We got to lighten up, and it has to do with our attitudes. Proverbs 12:25, anxious hearts are very heavy. Anxiety weighs us down, and life has a way of making us anxious. It's just part of the deal. But how we handle it is everything. Maybe we don't need to be as anxious as we are. Here's the deal. Wherever you're at life, like I mentioned school for kids, I mentioned work for kids and adults. Wherever you find yourself, go for it with gusto. Work hard when you work. I don't think I hopefully bring my family into this too much. I don't think they have to suffer too much because of me, but I just said it to my oldest daughter going through college not too long ago. I just observed her, and I said, you really seem to do well. I know there's pressure. I know it was hard getting through nursing school, but she studied hard. But then there was a time where the books got laid aside, and she went and played hard. That's a really good thing. We got to learn how, adults, we got to play hard. And again, I come to you as an utter hypocrite in that. I have just kind of, not having recreation in my life has taught me the power of recreation. I need to be recreated from time to time. And that's what play gives us. And I've made my own decisions in life, and my schedule got real full with stuff. And it has to do with priorities, and I think it's probably okay. You know, we all make our choices, and then we got to live by them. But I have learned that it's really important to play, because anxious hearts are really heavy. And doing something lighter, just fun, takes away maybe some of that anxiety from time to time. We got to leave some of the stuff behind. We got to leave work behind time to time. Proverbs 14:30, Living Bible, a relaxed attitude lengthens a man's life. Literally, it says, a heart at peace gives life to the body. Don't we know it? And we know it especially in those times when we're not at peace. And we feel not so much overly alive in our bodies. A heart at peace gives life to the body. A relaxed attitude lengthens a person's life. I don't mean to be flippant about this at all, but there's this phrase, don't sweat the small stuff. Now, do we understand, as people who believe in the Lord, that as far as God is concerned, it's all small stuff. I mean, it really is. You got a big daddy. You got an almighty Father. I just think some of the stuff I have sweat, probably a lot of the time unnecessarily in my life. I knew a guy once that came close to losing almost everything because of maybe some misplaced priorities. He was about to lose it all, and he weathered it and didn't lose everything. And he saw me sweating one time over something going on at church probably, and I shared it with him, and he just said, I don't worry about that stuff anymore. It's a matter of perspective, but it caught my attention. It's like, there's wisdom here. Now this guy knows some wisdom from what he suffered, and he learned that so much of life that we sweat is small stuff. And when it comes right down to it, it's all small stuff with God. Maybe what we need to do is practice, instead of anxiously pursuing everything and all our responsibilities. And, we're all so important, right? I mean, how would the world live without us? Practice a relaxed concern. If we can get there. And I just think of Jesus. He modeled it, as only he can do perfectly. God coming in human flesh, I hope you understand that this is Jesus, right? We've talked about this. I see we've got visitors here today, but we're not here at Lincoln Hills just doing merely religious stuff. Jesus wasn't impressed with most of the religious people of his time. We're here to get connected to God. And Jesus Christ is that connection. He is God come in human flesh. And when God comes in human flesh, that shatters all other religion on the face of the earth. And he came with such purpose. He came to show us who God is and what he's like. I mean, wow, we get a picture of God, and he also came with great mission. But in the midst of it all, Jesus was never in a hurry. It's just amazing. Jesus' first public recorded words were when he was age 12. And he said, I must be about my Father's business. Not my Father's busyness. I must be about my Father's business. Now, there's a guy with purpose and priority. At age 12, of course, he's God. I know that helps. But he was also fully human at the exact same time. And he was a kid when he said this. And his last recorded words were from the cross, and they were, it is finished. He has paid the price for you that will be all you ever need to be right with God. That kind of sacrifice has been made. He died in your place so that you could live forever. He shed his blood so it could cover all our wrongdoings, our sin, for all eternity. And this is where we stand right now in Christ, if you're willing to believe in him. I must be about my Father's business at age 12, and at age 33, he could say, it is finished. What a life. And yet he walked through life never in a hurry. In just those few short years, he was on the face of this earth. Had Jesus healed everybody that needed healing? No. Had he saved everybody that would need saving? No. He was going to count on his disciples to continue that mission. Had everybody been fed? Now we should seek to eradicate poverty on the face of the earth and help the poor, but it was Jesus says, the poor you'll have with you always. It's never going to be completely eradicated on the face of this earth until the kingdom comes. He could have, if anybody could have said, I've got something else I got to get to, it was him. And I don't think he ever said it. He said, I did what my Father wanted me to do. And he did it basically from age 12 to 33. In reality, entering public ministry at about age 30 to 33. There was a fullness of life there. But man, just incredible. But he had this attitude, we could say, of relaxed concern. Never frantic. We could learn from Jesus. Proverbs 17:22. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. I got to say, I know this. This one, I know to the depths of my being. I love laughing because it heals me. It brings healing to my life. Today's English version, being cheerful keeps you healthy. It is a slow death to be gloomy all the time. Now you got to be who you are in all this. We could look at, parents were always looking at our shortcomings and hoping we're not ruining our kids. But, I know one thing that happened in our household more often than not growing up, and God willing it still continues, is a lot of laughter. We like laughing and not taking ourselves so seriously all the time. It's healthy to do it. It's good medicine. Medical research confirms this. If the Bible isn't enough for you, and it is for me, let's look at some medical research. Listen to this. There are positive chemical changes that take place in your mind, your brain, when you laugh and smile. Good stuff is happening within when you laugh and smile. It produces more T cells for your immune system. It releases endorphins, which is the body's painkiller. That's what's really happening when I'm losing it. Endorphins are being released. I'm told also that people that like hot food, endorphins are released in your body to try to quench the pain. So that's one of the reasons I love painful food to eat, I guess. I like it. I like it to hurt a little bit, and it can get sweaty and messy. Your entire muscular system relaxes with a good laugh. I haven't had one of these in a while. I need to have one again. Have you ever laughed so hard that it hurts and you grow weak? It relaxes you. That's why you feel weak afterwards. It's humor. Plato. You know the guy Plato from way back, not the putty stuff. Plato, Plato. He said, life should be lived as play. There's really something to that. That was talked about at the hospital where I worked. It was actually the CEO that put that out. Managers, lighten up maybe a little bit. Help your folks laugh. Play a little bit at work. I know there's serious stuff we got to do. But play and humor and laughter is a very good thing. Have you heard people who are going through a trial say something like this? Someday I'm going to look back on this and laugh. How about right now? What's wrong with right now? Go ahead and laugh now. We need to learn to lighten up because two of the biggest causes of stress in life are you trying to do too much. You don't line up your priorities. And secondly, you take yourselves too seriously. Stressful to do that. Question for you. Maybe just think about it in your own life. How positive is my attitude? How light is my heart? Man, my brother sent me something recently. TikTok video. There was a bunch of new college cheerleaders lining up, introducing themselves and what school. And they were coming with their cheerleading exuberance. And then there was a guy right after, Beardy. He'd match what these girls were saying. And you watch it the first time and you think, this is kind of stupid. And I guarantee, I'm on about my 25th time now watching it. It gets funnier every time. I texted that to my brother. This thing gets funnier the more we watch. He said, yeah, I've seen it 5 times this morning already before I go to work. I don't know. Whatever it is that can make you laugh, do it. Be around some light people. Last thing in trying to reduce our stress in our busy lives, look up to God. Hey, we're in church. We got to go there, right? Where else? I mean, man, if the pastor didn't, what kind of pastor is this? Line up my priorities and watch my attitude. All right, here we are. Here's the real spiritual portion of it all now. No, it's all spiritual. And when you leave here and not talk about God, it's spiritual. There is no separating secular from religious or spiritual, whatever you want to call it. Look up to God. Proverbs 10:27. The fear of the Lord adds length to life. Now, the main idea with the fear of the Lord does have to do with this, reverence for God. Reverence for God adds hours to each day. What's it saying? What's this fear of the Lord? What's this reverence for God? It's just take God seriously. He's when we're fearing Him properly, when we're reverencing Him, He's not an afterthought. in the decisions we have to make in life. He's part of it. I've had rheumatoid arthritis since 2009. I got it at the right time in life. The idea now is to prevent joint damage, but there's still some stuff. Here's just an example of what it might look like in my life. I get to go in early sometimes, do a shift as a chaplain, and I always walk the stairs because I'm not good about getting to the gym. I walk as much as I can. I do all the flights of stairs I can, and I'm just saying, Lord, thank you that I can walk these stairs. Man, this is awesome. Thanks. Thanks that I get to be here. God's there just every step of the way in our lives. I mean, it's not this big weighty thing where, I got to think about God now. It's just, man, He's there with us. If you know Christ, you know the greatness of God's love for you. And though you might be disappointed with yourself, God is not disappointed with you. He's not mad at you anymore. Christ took all of it at the cross. Man, we're free now. We got to look to this God. Proverbs 14:26. Reverence for the Lord gives confidence and security to a man and his family. The NIV says, the Lord is a secure fortress. ESV says there is strong confidence in the fear of the Lord. So this, not as literal translation, captured them both. So that's why we're using it. Reverence for the Lord gives confidence and security. He offers that in your life. I know we can fret. These things can be fleeting. But we keep coming back and we grow in them and we learn them and we understand them. I mean, as a dad growing up with kids in this world, I was always fretting for them. But man, reverence for the Lord gives confidence and security, not just to me, but to my family. And it's just, it's played out. We did pretty good as parents. I got to share. My girls gave me a Father's Day card. I just think it's one of the richest things, and it caused laughter. It had some humorous card. They always had to add their own stuff, but their little tagline was, "You're welcome for us turning out so good." And then, you know what? I'll take that. That's fine. But I had a part of it too. No, it's all on them. They're good kids most of the time. No, all the time, and I'm a good dad most of the time. Reverence for the Lord, great things come when we look up to God. Now, again, young people, I got you in mind especially. I memorized this when I was a young person myself. Just listen to it for now, and we'll put a different version up on the screen. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. Look to God. In the Living Bible it says this, trust the Lord completely. In everything you do, put God first, and He will direct you and crown your efforts with success. I think those of us that have been around, we know we've all had our failures in life, but we can look back and say, yeah, man, the Lord has been faithful. And it astounds me all the time that He's faithful. I pray to Him, to me, like one like me, yeah, He'll be faithful to you too. Question for you, just to think about in your own life. How deep is my relationship to God? Folks, it's why Jesus Christ came. It's why God took on human flesh, to restore you so that you could have relationship with the one who made you. To restore your relationship with God, which has been severed by sin. God is holy. We are not. Well, that is a problem. It's mankind's biggest problem. Nothing else comes close to it in the realm of problems, our separation from God. Jesus came to bridge the gap, to make it possible for us to be connected with God. In a word, we could call it reconciliation. The theological word from the Bible means we now have peace with God. We're not at enmity with God anymore like we were before our faith in Christ. And man, that can do just amazing things. He came to restore relationship. Here's the power of it. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him. I was figuring that stuff out as a new young believer, 20 years old, and I was also in my third year of college. You've heard this story if you've been around, but it's what's called a seminal moment in my life. I can remember it to this day. I should kind of know what my major is and where I'm heading, and it's the start of my third year, and it's still like, I don't know what's going on. But that summer I'd come to faith in the Lord, and I'm sitting in a class, the last class I should have been in for me. I should have been in the literature class, psychology, anything. I was in one of these hard upper-level physics classes. That just don't work for me. I'm not wired like that. I have no idea what the professor is saying. I don't know where I'm going in life. Don't even have a major yet that I can really glom onto and pursue. And I'm sitting there thinking in the midst of it, I belong to Him. I belong to Him. And there was freedom in it, and my feet kept moving, and God guided and directed, and things have a way of working out even for somebody who is just directionless at that particular point in my life. Seek Him. Seek Him. Know Him. Because He is awesome. Of all the things you can pursue in your busy, busy life, and the money and the riches or the fame or whatever it is you want, Jesus would ask you this question: is anything worth more than your soul? Of course, the answer to the question is absolutely not. Because it's that soul that will last forever and ever. Yes, we will get new resurrection bodies someday. And that'll be awesome. But it's the soul within us that's eternal. We don't have our eternal bodies yet. Do you have that confidence within yourself to know that? And to answer, Jesus say, no, nothing's more important. Of course, Lord. I hope you know Him. If not, it can happen in a moment of faith as you trust in Him this morning. Listen, this is a good God. You can jot down Matthew 11:28-30 and check it. Just listen for now. Matthew 11, starting at verse 28. Jesus says this: in our busy lives, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, all you who are tired and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Is that the picture that you have of God? This is God talking to you now. Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Partner up with Jesus. That yoke that tied two oxen together. Put that upon you, except His is not burdensome. Team up with Him, yoke up with Him. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Lord, thank you that this is the God that you have always been, that you are. Yes, you are holy, holy, holy. None of that changes, Lord. But we thank you that you came for us. And we pray that in the busyness of our own lives, Lord, and we've all got a certain measure of that we don't forget to look to you. Because we need you. And whether we realize it or not, we need you desperately. We thank you that you are faithful. We thank you that you're always there waiting for us, even in the midst of our faults and failures. You keep waiting for us, Lord. So give us the wisdom to move in your direction and look to you. And we thank you that the only thing you really want from us is our simple faith. We place our faith in this gospel message, that God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whosoever would believe in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. And that life starts right now. That life is meant to be grasped right now. It's not future. I know eternity is future, but Lord, infuse us with your life now. Bless each one here with a certain measure of the knowledge of Christ this morning. And may their load be lightened because of you, Lord Jesus. We pray in your name. Amen.